It looks fun. How did...
I'm a huge fan
Oh my goodness. Amazing effects and classical... How did they pull it off?
of classic cinema. I love the history of it all, and even more
Wait,
so
like a
the
test.
artistry and ingenuity you find in those
Wait, is it like a test? The multiple choice? Just...
early days where they were figuring out this new medium. Films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, The Battleship Potemkin, or the films of Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Harold Lloyd. So many hold up to this day with really beautiful visuals worthy of study, like Metropolis, M, and the work of Dreyer and Murnau. Specifically, The Passion of Joan of Arc, Vampire, Sunrise, Nosferatu, and Faust. And of course, continuing on with films like...
I don't think I've seen a single one of those. Dracula I've actually seen. Where's our 12 Angry Men? Oh, soon to come. I love that movie. But yeah, I never seen the Nas Door movie.
Dracula.
I didn't mean to watch that for a minute.
Frankenstein, and basically anything from Ingmar Bergman. I could list films for the rest of the episode since we haven't even started with the 40s and beyond, but we'll stop there. But when you watch some of these old films before sound forced cameras into lockdown soundproof boxes, and as you'll see even after, there's some surprising special and visual effects that utilize insane amounts of artistry and ingenuity like I mentioned before. So today we're going to take a look at a handful of those and see if you can guess how they were done before we tell you. You're gonna click play on the clip, watch it, and then tell us how you think they may have pulled that off at that time.
Oh, nice shirt.
They have
Man, what a shirt. They even got the little lady on the side too.
at that time.
What's her name? Girl, boom, boom, boom.
Watch it,
Marcellus' girl.
and then tell us how you think
Mia?
they may have pulled that off at that time with the resources they had.
Okay.
Right.
I believe this one is the matte painting one, or where they have the...
Oh! Yeah, he's right. I've seen this. They told us this in school, actually. This is just like a backdrop. But apparently he didn't hang that high, but he did do the hang, no?
like cardboard cutout of it, and then the rest is the projector replaced green screen wannabe stuff.
Didn't they like actually do this one?
If you're familiar with Harold Lloyd, you might think that this was done for real. If you weren't, you may guess it was rear projection. But rear projection wasn't really used until the 30s, and this was the 20s. How they actually did this was a clever visual in-camera trick where they built a piece of set on top of a building to get that perspective and make it appear as though he was actually scaling the building. And as
That's what I said, no?
he was meant to go to different heights in the
There's one.
scene, they built in different spots to match that perspective.
Metropolis.
Not even sure what I'm looking at here.
Is this like a toy set?
First instinct says some sort of miniatures.
Oh, it's like a railway system.
Just people's fingers.
Oh. Wait. This is like a miniature model.
Yeah, it feels like part of the shot's real. Mostly miniatures, it feels like to me.
If you haven't seen Metropolis, put this to the top of your must-watch list. It was released in 1927, and it's riddled with surprisingly epic shots like this. But this shot specifically uses a mirror to connect the two shots together, one of a model, which makes up the city, and
No, hell yeah, I've never seen that, but holy shit. Just off of those 10-second snippets, this shit look cool.
and it's riddled with surprisingly epic shots like this. But this shot specifically uses a mirror to connect the two shots together, one of a model, which makes up the city, and one of live action footage of actors walking up a platform. The camera is pointed directly at the mirror, which is reflecting the model back into the lens, but with one sliver stripped off the mirror so the camera can see through the glass to the live action actors behind it, filling in that tunnel section. This sort of trick was used several times in the film, including shots like these here where they extended the sets with the mirror reflecting a model off camera.
Smart. That's two.
I mean, the first one makes me want to just think of a crane. That's what it's doing. Do they have the tables on a swivel where they're pulling them out like this and they're just dollying?
Wait, so we're looking at a zoom in here. He is right. It does seem like a crane. Did they do cranes? I don't think so. But the only other thing I can imagine is like someone being pushed on a cart. But like, that's not even possible. How do you get past these guys?
I mean, the first one makes me want to just think of a crane. That's what it's doing. Do they have the tables on a swivel where they're pulling them out like this and they're just dollying?
Bro, there's no way.
I just picture.
I can't see what he's saying being how this would come out looking like that.
Have the
Like, the way he's saying it would happen doesn't make sense for my brain for it to even be a possibility.
tables on a swivel where
What
they're
is he
pulling them
saying?
out like this and they're just dollying?
I just pictured a guy like climbing over the table.
Wings
Bro, that's what I was thinking, but with a dolly. I was just thinking of that.
is a silent film.
They got him like one of those pushable tables, and like the middle's hollowed out. And it's just wheelable legs, so he's just going through the whole thing.
Again from 1927, and my first thought for this one was that they were moving tables and actors as the camera passed, but as you watch, you see that that's not really possible. In reality, they
He said the same thing too. No way. It would look so much more wonkier.
used an inverted rig that was made specifically for this shot, which was this wooden cart with the camera
Wait! Hey!
slung underneath, and all of that was hanging from an
Yo, that is almost exactly what I was imagining, but without the wheels. They just made it to where it was a box floating. Damn.
overhead railing that could be used to slide the whole rig across.
What the
And you
fuck?
may have seen this shot before. It's definitely iconic, but funny enough, the director had this to say about it. Camera movement
I love that it's as goofy as I imagined.
I loved, and then I got awfully sick of it. I did the first big boom shot in Wings when the camera moved across the tables in the big French cafe set. We both agreed we'd never use the thing again. There's just too much movement. It makes some people dizzy, it really does, and they become more conscious of the camera movement than they are of what the hell you're photographing. But even still, the film went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture and Best Special Effects at the
damn.
first ever Academy Awards that year.
Oh, damn. First ever.
Buster Keaton.
Oh, I've seen this before.
That's just 100% real.
They actually did this one.
Yo, man.
Buster Keaton is the
That's what I was gonna say.
GOAT. And for me, the only person that rivals his physicality is Jackie Chan. But you can also see the massive inspiration Keaton was for Chan. And this specific shot is his most insane, which we're cheating a bit here because the effect is that there isn't one. He just did it because he was a madman. And apparently his mark was just a nail on the ground. They did the math for the shot to make sure he was in just the right spot. And if he was just an inch to the left or the right, he could have been killed. He called it one of his greatest
Jesus, man. I don't know who's more dangerous, me or him, brother. That straight just fucking inhaled water. Ugh.
thrills and was later quoted
That's gotta be worth something, no?
saying, "I was mad at the time or I never would have done the thing." Even members of the crew left the set or turned away during the filming of the moment, worried that he was actually going to die in front of them. It's pretty incredible. If you haven't seen any of his films, just start at the beginning and make your way through all of them.
I actually have not, and I haven't seen this either, but I finally watched... Wait, wasn't this movie? Oh no, I watched City Lights. I love City Lights. That shit is hard. City Lights makes me want a boxing match that he made, but like see it in reality. Even though if that happened in reality, they would shut that shit down so fast. Like a man straight behind the ref. But like it'd be so funny. He's just like boom. He just, like he snipes him behind the guy. That'd be so funny.
Did they actually do this too?
That's the one where he has the cardboard.
Yo, at least let me watch it for a second before we guess, yo. Like it just started.
Did they actually do this too?
That's the one where he has the
Yo, hold up. What is he doing? So he's just rolling around. He's rolling around.
Like Buster Keaton, Chaplin was a wonderfully
What, just... What, him just... Huh?
Did they actually do
Oh, I see, because I didn't even notice.
this too?
That's the one where he has the
Is that a wire? Someone pull him? It's like a safety restraint or some shit?
the cardboard matte painting perspective thing.
Like Buster Keaton, but far more popular, Charlie Chaplin was a wonderfully physical performer, and this shot, specifically for modern times, is definitely one of his most iconic.
Oh, you can see it. Yeah, you can actually see it. After After he said it, I could see it.
One of his most iconic. Again, there's no compositing here. The shot was done by painting a set extension on a piece of glass that was placed in front of the lens. So he was able to do the scene, they were able to do the pan all in camera and have that great perspective, seeming like he may fall off. Really simple and very effective.
Very nice.
Oh, I know the answer to this one.
Huh?
God.
The octopus?
Wait. What?
I don't know the exact filter, but it's all in camera.
All in camera.
They
Oh wait, yeah, I could see that.
just did it with makeup and
Yeah, you'd have to do a little bit of makeup and shit.
the filter.
Yeah, I could see that. Once he said it, I didn't see it until he said it. I was like, how could that be? And then, yeah, it's pretty obvious that, yeah, there's just... Because the way her changes is way too irregular for it to just be all makeup.
I'm so confused.
Like, the way it transfers is kind of crazy.
I'm so confused.
This is one of my favorite special effects from a classic film, and it's an
Oh, that's actually impressive as hell. I've never seen that. Huh. That's crazy.
I'm so confused.
This is one of my favorite special effects from a classic film, and it's an effect that was invented by the cinematographer Karl Strauss, who won the first Academy Award at the first Academy Awards for cinematography for his film Sunrise. But he first used the effect in Ben-Hur in 1925 to show the healing of some lepers. Basically, they would add a certain color makeup on the actor, then place a filter that is tinted the same color as the makeup in front of the lens, and since this was in black and white, it made the color of the makeup invisible to the camera. Now, by shifting, removing, or adding that filter, you could reveal or disappear the effect all in camera on cue. And this same idea could be accomplished through lighting instead of filters as well. Which, speaking of lighting, the light you see in the shots here behind Justin and Emily are these new lights we got from our friends and partner Kane TV. These are Andromeda, Mark Kelvin, and HSI 360, and of course it's dimmable. And as you'd expect, you do have built
Cam TV. I bought 10.
in Wi-Fi for app control for both Android
I bought
and
10.
Apple. So all in, it's a very versatile light with some clever mounting options that won't break the bank. So if you want to know more about these, take a look in the notes below.
The Aussie. Oi.
Is it like a practical, like...
Hey, this guy's too fast with it. Yo, chill out, yo. Isn't that just real? Didn't they just make like a small thing and then film it? Like,
They're literally...
like, it's almost like they made their own weather system, like a thing, you know? They had their own like tiny thing, and then bing.
Practical, like, prop. They're literally just going like this and shooting it on a miniature.
Wait. Yeah, that's kind of what I said. But I feel like I said more but less, but it's also more.
I wish I already knew so I could cheat.
Wizard of Oz is easily one of the most iconic films of all time, which is why it's always a little bit shocking to think that this film that inspired so many films since and has become so ingrained in pop culture was actually a bomb at the box office. But this tornado scene has always been a standout to me, made in 1939 and holds up to this day 84 years later. But how did they pull it off? They created this by using a 35-foot rig, which was muslin cloth wrapped around chicken wire to help hold its shape. Then it was connected to a gantry crane at the top of the stage. To get it to move around the soundstage, the bottom was connected to a cart on a track that was then pushed back and forth to give that realistic movement. And to get that dirt and debris flying around, they used compressed air hoses to spray powdery brown dust called Fuller's Earth from both the top and the bottom of the funnel. And the muslin was porous enough that the dirt was able to seep through, giving the tornado a realistic blurriness to the edges. And this was all mixed with some matte paintings for the background, and that footage was then rear projected onto a screen behind the actors, creating the illusion of an approaching tornado. And again,
See, that's almost exactly what I said.
it completely
That other guy, he almost had it.
holds up to this day.
He almost had it. Next time,
Almost
little
feels-
bro.
It's kind of like that windshield effect when the
Oh,
camera
the
goes through the car
cane.
windshield.
Wait, what are we observing here from Kane?
When the camera goes, kind of like that windshield effect when the camera goes through the car windshield.
Oh, the zoom in.
Is it 2 shots or is it one? Is it really 1 shot?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that was his guess, is that it's 2 shots? Damn, that's an interesting one, because they have to go through the sign.
That windshield effect when
Bro, it almost have to be like that box shit again.
the camera goes through the car.
Because I would just imagine it's the same thing with like the table. It's just a matter of getting the camera through the ting, shifting angles, and...
Our windshield. Is it 2 shots or is it one? Is it really 1 shot?
Yeah, that's definitely a one shot. I just don't know exactly how they're doing it. Like, it's almost like the table, but it's not. How?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nowadays, there are a ton of ways to pull off a shot like this, including using something like a drone to actually fly right through a sign like this, or just go pure CG, as would most likely be the case now. But back then, none of that was possible, and their cameras were massive and heavy. So the way that they captured the appearance of floating straight through the sign was by separating it. If you look closely here, you can see a bunch of gaps in the sign where it comes apart. The sign was built in 2 sections that split into parts to allow the camera and cameraman
Oh, so this is like what they mean by the table trick.
to pass right through the sign
Bro, they had the table, they knew the table trick, and they didn't even call it.
when it was pulled in different directions. And then a fade, of course, was used here to take us all the way into the El Rancho. It's one of the many brilliant shots from one of the greatest films ever made.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
It's honestly astonishing that I even have to like really think
What is
about
this?
it.
30
I don't
seconds
know. This
over
explosion
Tokyo?
feels real for sure, but I don't know what they blew up. If that's partially real, because it's hard to tell the perspective of
Well, let's just gotta be models again, no?
those buildings.
Like a miniature thing?
This is the only film on the list that I have not seen, but while researching this episode, we came across these shots and I was pretty blown away. And yes, I'm positive everyone guessed how this was done, but how effective this turned out is really jaw-dropping.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing with Metropolis. It's kind of obvious. Metropolis was kind of hidden more, though. Kind of crazy. Like, that shit, the size. But even this, like, the size, but it's kind of obvious, like... I don't know, it's just like, if you know, you know. Like, if you know, you know.
Considering it was shot in 1944. Of course, they're using miniatures on a soundstage to execute these shots, and it's just masterful, especially with some of the added camera movements that give it more life and realism. But the scale, the fire, the models, all of it's just firing on all cylinders.
Space Odyssey?
What year was this?
So the movie's called.
No, actually, I was thinking about this the other day. There's a lot of moments in Space Odyssey that I'm just like, man, how the fuck did Kubrick get this? Honestly, a lot of things. Like, Kubrick's blocking and just like shot, prop, that really just all of his blocking for everything is very impressive. Like, the fact he made it work with those hunky ass cameras and limited like effects and knowledge of how to like in new technology, brother, shit seemed insane.
2001 Space Odyssey, so they're in space.
Did they just have it on fishing wire?
Ah! That's what I was gonna say.
But I see that
That's not what I was gonna say. I was actually gonna say,
it's on a.
it's very clearly someone threw it and it's slow motion.
Fishing wire or string. You can see it in the middle of the frame.
And for our last film, we have this great shot from 2001, A Space Odyssey, which I personally had no idea how they pulled off. It's clearly not a string, and they didn't have the capabilities in 1968 to pull off a composite this good, so what's going on here? The answer is hilariously simple. They took a large piece of glass and used double-sided tape, which was just recently invented, to stick the pen onto the glass. The glass was then put onto some bearings so they could rotate the glass how they needed, which let the actress take the pen right off the glass as if it was floating through the air. And if you look closely, you can actually see some imperfections in the glass show up when they do their rack focus. It's a brilliantly elegant solution to a problem and a perfect example of why I wanted to do this episode. There's so much inspiration to be pulled from classic films like this where it was all about elbow grease and ingenuity, and it's something we should all take to our own projects. There's always a way to pull off an idea. It just takes some thinking outside of the box and getting your hands dirty. Except for what Buster Keaton did. Don't do that. But that's it for today. List of the films.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna go about that. But yeah, that was cool. Bro, how many did I get right? I feel like I got I got more than half right, easily, for sure. And that's a dub. That's a dub in my book. Easy. That was cool. I really enjoyed that. I like that.